Yet the exercise of a sovereign right does not obviate the need for care and restraint. We have seen and condemned the terrible loss of life as a result of past attempts, including last April, by Iraqi police and security forces to enter the camp. The United States has stated publicly, and I want to reiterate now, that we expect the Iraqi government to refrain from the use of violence. The State Department is, and will continue to work closely with the UN, its assistance mission in Iraq led by Ambassador Martin Kobler, and the UNHCR to help achieve a humanitarian resolution. These UN organizations are playing a serious and constructive role in the urgent efforts to craft a solution. The European Union is supporting these efforts as well.
Thank you very much. Then I will proceed with some questions, and then we will go on to the others. And first of all, Mr. Ambassador, you just stated in several times in your opening statement that each party has to do its part, and that it'll take an intense effort by all parties to come to get out of this situation. Let me ask you this. You believe that the United States is doing all we can? Are we involved with an intense effort when we can't even get ourselves to take the MEK off the terrorist list? Yes, please tell me. I mean, this, on the face of it, that seems very contradictory. We can't even get ourselves to make a redesignation, and you're suggesting that all of us have to have an intense effort? How intense is it to have to make a policy for our own government in order to defuse the situation?
Certainly, the efforts of my office and my colleagues at the Near East Bureau are intense. Secretary Clinton was explicit that she wants me to work flat out on this issue, and that is what my colleagues, Ambassador Jeffrey in Baghdad, are doing. That is a directive from the Secretary. We're all engaged. That I can assure you, that is happening. I cannot comment about the process. It's not my place to comment about the process of the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation. My office is not playing a lead role in that process. I know it's moving along, and I am very mindful of the arguments you made.
How long has it been moving on? How long has it been moving on?
This process has been some months, but again, it's not my office engaged in it.
Well, let me just note.
Yes, sir.
That intense effort does not in any way accurately describe the State Department's activities in dealing with just a simple chore that they themselves have responsibility for, of redesignating the MEK and taking them off the terrorist list, as our European allies have already done. So I'm sorry, but you're not representing your department in the State Department. You are here representing the State Department. And the State Department isn't operating intensely on this issue, because on the face of it, maybe it's an intense pace for a snail. Snails, may think that they're really intensely trying to get across someplace, but they're going to get smashed because they are a very slow creature. Let me ask you this. Do you know of any cases in history where revolutionary organizations have fought against tyrannical regimes and later became very respectable democratic forces in society?
There is ample evidence in history of exactly the kind of transformation you're referring to.
Right.
Certainly. I mean, no question about that.
And so we know that it's happened in history, and we know that our European allies have already redesignated the MEK as a non-terrorist organization. So what is it with the State Department? They don't know history, or They just aren't as intense as our friends in Europe?
I know that the process is continuing. The Secretary's decision will be made on the basis of the facts and the law. I know that that we are working hard through the interagency process to get this done, and more than that, because it is in process, I can't say.
Okay, let me just note
that I will, with your permission, I will carry back your views and the views.
And I'd like you to carry back another message,
Yes, sir.
and that is, if indeed you are correct, and what I am seeing is not an accurate picture, and what I'm seeing is roadblocks and not an intense commitment, but I hope I'm wrong. Okay, what I'm going to do is let my colleague, Mr. Carnahan, proceed with his questions. We have about 15 minutes to go, and then we will break for votes on the floor and come back for the second panel. Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. I guess I wanted to get back to this redesignation issue, Ambassador, and describe for the committee that process, where exactly the process stands. Let's start with that.
I appreciate and accept the chairman's comment that I'm representing the whole department, so I take that on board. That said, I'm not expert in the process, but I'll do my best to answer your questions straightforward, as straightforward way as I can. The process involves interagency input that is nearly complete, then an exhaustive and comprehensive package goes up to the Secretary for her consideration, I believe. I believe this will happen soon. I can't promise you a timeline, and I don't believe in making promises I can't keep, but that I can tell you that the issue of redesignation is one that is much on the Secretary's mind, and she knows this is coming.
And is it anticipated that will be done before or after the December 31st deadline?
I can't say. I can't say, and I can't give a promise. I can't.
I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for your best knowledge and information. You can't say. I understand.
There are, because this is not this is based on the facts and the law, and I can't to make a promise that I couldn't keep is something I am loath to do.
I'm not asking you to do that.
Or a commitment.
So let's move on. The other time frame I want to ask you about, and maybe you can elaborate more on, is this December 31st deadline with regard to the efforts that you describe are underway. And again, I appreciate those efforts. I think they are urgent. And I certainly want to be sure, I think everybody here wants to be sure that there is not another humanitarian crisis or massacre because of inaction or delay. So my question is, with regard to that time frame, do you foresee us being able to process those 3,000 plus people who have applied to get that process completed before that deadline?
As a practical matter, unfortunately, no. That is not. Now, yesterday, but if you want, I can elaborate on the issue of the timeline and the problem it poses.
Please do, but just an additional follow-up.
Yes,
and so within that process, is part of the effort that you're undertaking now discussions to extend that deadline to allow proper time for this to happen? And if you would talk about that as well.
Certainly. Yesterday, the UN Security Council had a session on Iraq, and a large portion of it was devoted to exactly this issue. Afterwards, the head of the UN mission in Iraq Martin Kobler, who's leading these efforts with the government of Iraq, who'd flown in from Iraq for this session, told the press that he believes the government of Iraq should extend the deadline.
I would now yield to Judge Poe.